ito, kay first is to allow a company to budget. Because when a business has a better idea of exactly how its money is being spent, obviously, it can better budget for the future. So, pag alam natin kung paano natin ginagastos yung mga resources natin, kaya syempre, come up tayo sa a better budget para sa future na makabigay sa atin ng more earnings. Then, next, it allows a company to be more efficient because of course, pag alam natin yung costs na gina-incur natin, alam natin kung paano natin siya magamit ng maayos. Di na tayo magbili ng mga sobra-sobra or di tayo malasan natin yung mga emergencies na di na maka-incur lang din natin ng more costs pa. And lastly, it can mean more profit as if a company makes its production processes more efficient, meaning it is producing the same output for less, then it makes more money. So of course, pag magamit natin yung resources natin efficiently, of course, maka-earn tayo makamake tayo ng more profits. Kasi nga, we are being efficient, and being efficient results to less mistakes, then more income. That's all.
Okay. Clarify ko lang, you use the word efficient. Efficient ba yun?
Yes, ma'am. Efficiency.
Efficiency is more on the means you are maximizing the use of your resources
Yes, ma'am.
that would result to higher income or lower cost or both. But
Yes.
when we say the 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 process is the effectiveness, yung word. It can also be efficient, the process, because hindi siya magastos. In terms of financial, we use the terms efficient. You mentioned about the cost as expenditures ba yun? Or outlays? So my question is a cost necessarily require a cash outlay?
For me, ma'am, cost does not necessarily mean cash outflow, ma'am, because cost can be in terms of, like for example, ma'am, yung mga accruals natin, ma'am, or yung mga payables natin, ma'am, na ginabayaran natin through services natin, ma'am, na wala nang cash outflow dun, ma'am, but bigay tayo ng services, ma'am, for a cost, ma'am.
Example ng mga cost na walang cash outlay.
An example, ma'am, would be walang cash outlay. Yung halimbawa, ma'am, yung sa ma'am, sample lang, ma'am, for me. Yung halimbawa, pag-borrow ako ng ice crusher sa kapitbahay. Tapos kasi nagabenta ako ng halo-halo, ma'am. Tapos bigyan ko siya ng halo-halo na product ko, ma'am. Sample, ganun, ma'am. So, walang cash outflow sa akin, ma'am. Pero, nabigyan ko siya ng free product. So, yun.
Pero yung product na binigay mo sa kanya na free, gumastos ka doon.
Yes.
Right? Anyone? Sige, tawag tayo. Nandiyan na si
Walang cash outflow.
Noor Hapsa. Are you, Ira Noor Hapsa? Are you there? Hindi ko nakikita. Wala siyang Noor Hapsa, are you there? Wala. Dapat 22 kayo. Kung wala siya, dapat 21. Okay. So, ako pala yung isa. Saan si Eileen Makarimbang? Eileen, nandiyan ka? Eileen, what is an example of a cost that does not necessarily require a cash outlay? Wala akong marinig. Eileen.
Station.
Eileen. Oh, andun na si Ira. Eileen, saan ka na? Wala. Okay, Al-Raf Zahir. Ay, sino yun? Al-Raf Zahir, sige. What is an example of a cost which does not necessarily require cash outlay?
Nasa labas kasi ako.
Wala akong maisip.
Kaya naginahan na. Wala ka naisip or na-amaze ka pa sa online meeting natin. Almera Camid. Almira. Ay, baka nag-login lang kayo
Ma'am,
tapos
present ako,
pinag-iwan
ma'am,
yung
ha?
mga cellphone, mga laptop.
Ma'am, present po ako.
Hindi kita nakakita. Nasaan pa? O, Ira. Si Almira nasaan? Two-way class, pag sabi kayo kung ma'am, wala akong microphone, ma'am, wala akong camera.
Ang love, ma'am.
Natin. Ganun din sa ibang klase niyo. Magsabi kayo. As, bago ko makalimutan pala. Okay lang ba? Baka maglampas tayo ng 10:30. Tapusin lang natin yung anim na rate na presenters. Okay lang, baka maglampas tayo ng 10:30.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay lang. Sige, sige. Saan na yun? Saan na ako? Ira, sige na, Ira, ikaw. What is an example of a cost which does not necessarily require cash outlay? Lolo mo, kausap tawag natin. Okay, sige. Meron pa, Jul? Karugtong report mo.
Wala na po, ma'am.
Tapos na ba yun?
Yes.
Wala? Okay, sige. Pag-ulan ng ibang questions. Who is the next presenter?
Zafra, ma'am.
Ako po, ma'am.
Zafra,
Zafra po.
saan ka na? Okay, may PowerPoint ka?
Yes, ma'am. Na-compile na po ni Julie lahat, ma'am.
Ay, si Jul, lahat kay control. Sige na, Jul, pakita mo.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Next, Julie. Okay, mag-start
Okay,
na po.
sige.
Julie, so the next topic is the management and the cost accountant, or what is the duties of cost accountants in the management. Next.
Pero wait
So,
lang, may
first-
video ka, Miss Steph. Steph, may video ka, Steph. Hindi kita nakikita.
Yes, ma'am.
Yun,
Naka-video
okay,
po
okay.
ako.
Oo, okay na. Sige, sige, go.
Thank you. So first, the meaning, or let us define the management. Management is a set of principles to the functions of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling the resources such as human, financial, physical, or information resources of an organization to reach its organizational goals. So in planning, it is the preparatory stage where the management identify or set their goals. Also, the management decides the task and paano nila gamitin yung mga resources nila para ma-attain ang organizational goals nila. Followed by, sunod sa planning is the organizing, which involves developing organizational structures and allocating human resources. Dito na mag-assign ang management ng mga tasks or groupings into the departments. Next is the leading, is the use of influence to motivate the employees. Of course, inline pa rin siya para ma-achieve nila ang goals ng organization. And last function is the controlling, is a process of monitoring performance, determining whether the organization is moving towards its goals. And if meron man silang makitang problem in monitoring the performance, pwede nila masolusyonan yun or take a corrective actions. So with these four functions, the planning, organizing, leading, and controlling will help the company or the organization to attain its goals. Next, Jay. So cost accountants, what are the roles or the duties of the cost accountants in the management? And as said by the first reporter kanina na si Jewel, that the cost accounting is concerned about the cost production and provides detailed cost information. So, ang primary duties or role ng cost accountant is to determine and provide the actual and expected estimated cost of the manufacturing or the production. Kumbaga, their responsibility is to analyze or to compute the possible expenses needed na kailangan to produce the product, such as the materials na kailangan to come up with the right cost of the product. Sunod, cost accountants needed to monitor the purchases. Bakit? For them to avoid unnecessary orders na hindi naman kailangan sa production na mag-cause ng additional expenses sa ating production, and that will affect the cost of the product or determining the cost of the product. So if may mga unnecessary purchases tayo, madagdagan ang expenses or mag-cost ng mas magmahal yung product. So dapat i-monitor din yun ng cost accountant. And also cost accountant makes a report of an actual cost that provides information about transaction related to the cost accountings. Lastly, the overall duties of the cost accountant is to provide management with the information needed to determine product cost and information necessary for assessing progress toward its strategic achievements or its goal po. That's all, ma'am.
Matipid lagi kayo sa slides. Okay. Additional doon sa na-present ni Eileen. Okay, i-share. Meron akong i-share na Jul, paki-out muna ng presentation. Meron ako i-share na document. Okay, sige. Kita niyo? Anong nakikita niyo?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Anong nakikita niyo?
Pyramid, ma'am.
Pyramid. Hindi yan sa Egypt, ha? Okay, so additional lang doon sa sinabi. What is presented was the functions of management. So, the functions of management sa presentation were grouped into 4. So, additional functions, i-ano lang natin, i-breakdown lang natin. Meron pa tayong the planning, di ba, na-mention yung organizing, staffing, directing, and then the controlling. Part also of the task of the management. By the way, when we say management, we are referring to different levels of management. The top management, which includes, of course, the highest level of the management. We may also include in the top management the members of the board of directors, or the board of trustees. The middle management, the lower level management, the operating level, mga workers, or the rank and file. Okay, these management positions have, other than the functions, what we call the task. Okay, in every position, in every level of management, they are given the authority. So in our pyramid, why the authority has a smallest part lang? Because hindi naman lahat ng tao, hindi lahat ng employees are given the authority. Usually, the authority are given to those in the management position. Okay? But take note that once there is an authority given to you, that includes also, meron siyang kaakibat na responsibility. Responsibility as entailed or as required is imposed by the position, by the level where you are in, you are put into, and associated with responsibility comes accountability. Ano naman? Most of the time or sometimes, responsibility and accountability are terms used interchangeably. But somehow, meron silang konting difference. Okay? Responsibilidad mo dahil ikaw ang nasa posisyon, ikaw ang may authority, responsibilidad mo na gawin yung task, yung mga expectations sa'yo. Okay? Either gawain mo siya o hindi gawin, that's responsibility. At dahil responsibilidad mo yun, meron pang accountability na panagutan yon. Okay? Your action or inaction entails accountability. Kagaya sa accounting, di ba? Meron tayong tinatawag, for example, na error of omission and error of commission. Right? So, sige, example, si Rich, nasaan si Rich? Gapol. Is Gapol? Are you around? Wala ko kausap. Jul, tayo lang dalawa dito, Jul. Ay, hanap, sinabi ko sila lahat.
Wala ka off lang siguro mga mic nila mo.
So, yun rin, pag tinatawag ko kaya dyan si Rich, Gapol.
Sirat. Wala.
Sabihin niyo, ma'am, wala.
Ma'am, nawala.
Siya. Wala. Nasaan si Eileen?
Bam. Connection ng ibang.
Ay, paano yan? Si Nurhara. Saan si Nurhara?
Hindi, din siya mo.
Ay, naku. Ang nakikita ko lang si Stephanie, si Adelaide, si Rapsanjani, si Jul, si Rufaida. Nasaan niya? Pero si Rufaida, wala kang nakapost lagi ang cam mo.
Ay, hindi siya nakapost.
Wala talaga magalaw.
Hindi ako nakapas, ma'am. Hindi lang ako gagalaw.
Okay, sige. Saan si Mayra Pendaliday?
Mayra. Si Mayra.
Wala. Maria. Mayra. O, ano ibig sabihin ng error of commission? Ugi-off niya.
Ang error of omission, ma'am. Yung-
Commission. Si
Commission?
Apo.
Commission.
Diba sa adjusting entries, meron tayo dalawang klase ng errors. Error of commission and error of omission.
Commission kaya hindi mo masabi, hindi nasabi. Ang commission.
Commission ma'am, may mali na record. May error sa transaction.
Okay. Commission, wait lang. Commission from the root word commit.
Mali yun.
Ibig sabihin ng commit, may ginawa ka.
Pero mali.
Nag-record ka, pero yung ginawa mo, yung ni-record mo mali.
Yes, ma'am.
Tama. The error of omission naman, omission is from the root word omit. Ano ibig
Wala kang
sabihin nun?
nalagay.
Wala ka.
record.
Wala kang na-record or wala kang ginawa. Yun ang mali. Diba? Ang commission may ginawa ka, pero yung ginawa mo mali. Ang omission, wala kang ginawa, pero yung wala kang ginawa, yun ang mali. Kasi dapat meron kang gagawin. Ganon. Tama? Okay. So, balik tayo doon sa triangle. The accountability is, may ginawa ka kung ano man yung ginawa mo, tama man yun or mali,
Accountable.
accountable ka doon. Okay? Yung isa naman wala kang ginawa, accountable ka pa din doon. Dahil wala kang ginawa, so, accountable ka. Why? Because it's your responsibility to do or not to do something because of the authority given to you. And by the way, as we mentioned, these are level of management, but the authority can be delegated, di ba? The top management, konti lang sila yung nasa top management. Kaya tayo merong middle, lower, and operating level managements or workers because the authority from the top management, gagaling siya sa taas. Authority should always come from the top. Pwede siyang ibaba, i-share sa iba. Pero habang sinishare mo yung authority, you are also sharing the responsibility and the accountability. Okay? Hindi porke ikaw yung pinakamataas sa organization, wala ka ng responsibility. The higher is your authority, if you notice, sabi ko nga kanina, konti lang, maliit lang yung triangle, yung portion ng authority, pero malaki yung accountability sa baba. Because the higher is your authority, or larger is your responsibility and accountability. Okay? Again, it can be delegated. Kagaya sa organization, meron kayong president, pero yung hindi lahat ng trabaho, president lang ang gagawa. Pwede siyang i-assign, i-delegate sa ibang officers, and then from the other officers, pwede din siyang i-share sa members. Okay? Ganon din sa mga employees. Pero tandaan natin, that you are given the authority, you are given the opportunity or the assignment, then therefore there comes accountability. Okay. Questions or clarifications?
None.
Wala na. Okay, sige, next. Sino next?
Ako, ma'am.
Sino na ang next? Sino yun?
Opo, ma'am.
Si Bandingan? Okay,
Pancha,
sige.
Siya, ma'am.
Tama.
Pancha, ma'am.
Sige, sige.
Ma'am, okay lang walang camera, ma'am.
Short kasi Pancha ang kausap namin.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sige, sige. Sige.
So, again, good morning. And my topic is about cost accounting versus financial accounting. So, balikan ko lang yung definition ng cost accounting. So, cost accounting, determining the cost of products, processes, projects, assisting the management in the planning and control, and prepare special analysis that assist in making the best decisions. Ang financial accounting naman is something that we have been learning for the past years of our stay in the program. So, alam ko naman na meron kayong alam sa kung ano ang financial accounting. So, next, Jules. So, cost accounting versus financial accounting. So, first is, cost accounting is on the internal aspect of the business, and financial accounting, on the other hand, is the external aspect of the company. So, bakit internal aspect of the business ang cost accounting? So, as Jewel has mentioned, cost accounting is a subset of the management accounting, and management accounting portrays the internal aspect of the business. Cost accounting, usually provide ng information to the internal managers kung paano nila i-reduce ang cost and control the cost para to help improve the flow of the company. Financial accounting, on the other hand, this is how much profit the company makes, how much cash flow the company brings, and in a given year, and etc. So, cost accounting acts as a tool for the management. So, as a subset of the management accounting, it acts as a tool for the management as well. So, it's basically to reduce the cost and improve the efficiency of the business processes. On the other hand, ang financial accounting naman is ang objective naman ng financial accounting is to create an accurate and fair picture of the financial affairs of the company. Di ba? Yun yung sa natin sa financial accounting, preparing financial statements with full representation, relevance, and etc. Cost accounting is not mandatory and applicable to all organizations. Only the organizations which are engaged in manufacturing activities are bound to report through cost accounting. Kasi, on the other hand, financial accounting is mandatory for all organizations. So, cost accounting kasi hindi siya applicable to all. Kasi meron kasi mga businesses or companies na hindi naman relevant sa kanila ang pag-report ng cost accounting. Kasi nga, hindi naman yun siya masyadong kailangan or necessary at all. However, ang financial accounting, dapat kailangan all companies are mandatory to submit their financial statements to the financial flow of the company. Next is that cost accounting is performed in every short interval. And accounting is at the end of the year. So, ang cost accounting, bakit siya every short interval siya kailangan i-perform? Kasi ang decision making ng management also in a very short interval. So, as much as possible,
Ako kayo.
Medyo lang din po talaga sa amin, ma'am.
Sino may signal? Ako kayo.
Dalawa.
Lahat siguro, ma'am.
I have a clarification lang, Oliver. May clarify ko lang. Ayun, kalimutan ko na. Wait, yung sinabi mo kanina, cost accounting applies only to manufacturing. Hello, naririnig niyo ako?
Yes,
yes, ma'am.
So,
Okay. Cost accounting, sabi mo kanina, is applicable only to manufacturing. Meron nakalagay. Applicable to all organic
Ma'am, di kita marinig mo.
It is all. Hello?
Ma'am, hindi kita
Narinig
marinig.
niyo ako?
Ito, ma'am.
Choppy, ma'am.
Choppy, ma'am.
May problema
Lag
tas
ka po.
wifi. Wait lang.
Yes, ma'am.
Kaya nga, may signal. Wait lang. Ayusin ko lang.
Yes,
Lipat
ma'am.
lang ako wifi. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am.
Klaro na.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, i-clarify ko lang. Sabi mo kanina, cost accounting is applicable to manufacturing only. My reaction is no. It is applicable to all kinds of organization. Matter lang kung ano ang kailangan niya sa cost accounting. Okay, maybe what you're referring to is standards na kailangan ginagamit, kinukuha sa cost accounting ng management. Okay, but most of the times, cost accounting is mostly and widely used in manufacturing. But even in service concern, pwede naman gamitin ang cost accounting. Okay? Klaro?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
No, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sige. Continue, Oliver.
And last is that in cost accounting, estimation has a great value in determining and comparing the cost of sales per unit. In financial accounting, every transaction and reporting is based on actual data. So, in cost accounting, estimation plays a vital role kasi nga para ma-determine and to compare the cost, kailangan nilang mag-estimate. However, in financial accounting, we also estimate pero in most of the time, kailangan what is the actual data, yun dapat ang ilalagay natin sa financial statements. Hindi naman natin in-estimate ang cash kasi kung ano dapat yung kung anong nandun sa bangko or on hand, dapat yun yung ilalagay natin. Next, Jill. So, in this diagram, as you can see, the cost accounting serves as an intersection between the financial accounting and the management accounting. Cost accounting, the product cost, provides information for the external parties and internal managers. So, kaya siya nasa gitna as an intersection. External parties includes the creditors, stockholders, regulatory bodies, and internal for the managers naman for planning, controlling, decision-making, and evaluating performance. That's all, ma'am.
Okay, so any question or clarification?
To yung mga raw materials, spare parts, basta yung kung ano yung mga ginagamit natin para ma-produce yung goods. Next is the labor cost, which consists of the salary and wages paid to the permanent and temporary employees in the pursuit of the manufacturing of the goods. And the expenses. Ito naman yung mga other expenses associated with making and selling the goods or services. Pwede matawag na factory overheads. Number 2, classification by traceability or to the cost of objects. This aspect is one of the most important classification of costs. Merong dalawa, the direct and indirect cost. Nasabi to ni Salazar kanina sa cost concepts. So, ang direct cost, these are the costs which are easily identified with a specific cost unit or cost centers. Examples are materials used in the manufacturing of a product or the labor involved with the production process. So, directly related siya kung paano ginawa talaga yung product. Kung ano yung direct materials tsaka direct labor para ma-produce yung goods or products. Next is the indirect cost. Ito naman, we cannot easily identify them to one particular cost centers. For example, yung rent of the building or yung salary ng manager or yung pag-advertise ng product. Next classification is the classification by function or activities. So the classification follows the pattern of basic managerial activities of the organization. Narang dalawa, manufacturing and production, saka commercial. Sa manufacturing and productions, these are costs concerned with actual manufacturing or construction of the goods. Tapos, sa commercial, yung commercial cost naman, yun naman yung total cost of the operation of an enterprise other than the manufacturing cost. Pwede dito yung mga administrative cost, distribution cost, selling, yun. Next is the behavior of cost or the variability. According to this classification, costs are classified according to their behavior in relation to changes in the level of activity or volume of production. Merong tatlo, fixed, variable, and semi-variable. So for the fixed, those are those which remain in fixed total amount with increase or decrease in the volume of output or productive activity for a given period of time. Ang fixed cost per unit magde-decrease as production increases, tapos mag-increase naman as production declines. Examples are rent, insurance of a building, or yung salary ng manager. Tapos, these are dependent on time rather than output. Sa variable naman, yun na yung cost na nagva-vary in total ng direct proportion to the volume of output. These costs are per unit remain relatively constant with changes in production. So kapag mas marami yung volume na ipoproduce mo, mas malaki yung variable cost mo. Ito naman, kung yung fixed variable, dependent siya sa time, hindi sa output, ang variable cost naman, dependent siya sa output rather than on time. And next, yung semi-variable cost or mixed, partly fixed and partly variable. Example is yung telephone expense. It includes fixed portion of annual charge plus yung variable charge according to calls. Halimbawa, nag-international call ka, magdagdag ng bayad, ganun. Kapag naubos na yung consumable mo for international calls. Ganun. Next slide, Jul. Number 5, classification by normality. So this classification this is part of production and a part of costing profit. Incur sa normal in standard condition. Ito yung siya yung mga normal expenses or yung mga ordinary expenses na nagagamit talaga ng isang
Okay, ba't nawala?
Wala siya.
Hello, Rafaida. Nawala siya.
Nawala siya, ma'am.
May isang slide pa siya, Jul.
Wala na, ma'am. Ito na lang.
Last na ito.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, may i-share ako, Jul, related sa presentation niya.
Yes, ma'am.
Ayan. Kita niyo na ulit.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so related pa din siya sa presentation ni Rufaida. We'll just see for the groupings the same. Okay, as
Yeah.
na-mention niya, we have classification. So we'll focus on the 7 most common classifications. We have when we say nature and elements, so these are the elements of the components of the finished product. That includes direct materials, direct labor costs, and the overhead by behaviors.
Ma'am, nawala ako. Sorry.
Variable fixed. Kaya nga. Ako na lang.
Nawala ang net.
Tapos na ba yun?
Kon na lang
karugtong
po,
pa
yung
ba yun?
sa time na lang po. Yung last na...
Okay, so sige, tingnan natin. Baka meron siya dito. Sa behavior, sabi niya kanina, variable, fixed, or mixed. By the way, when we say mixed, that's a combination. Meron siyang component, meron siyang portion ng variable, may portion siya ng fixed. Are you familiar with the cost segregation methods? Paano i-separate ang variable sa fixed? May familiar kayo sa high-low method or the method of least squares? Encounter nyo na yung mga terms na yan. Hello?
Na-encounter na tayo, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So familiar na kayo sa cost segregation. Anyway, we will encounter it again pagdating natin sa I think variable or absorption costing, the break-even analysis. May problem na ulit. It's the function, the product cost, the period cost, the available product cost, of course. These are what we call the cost of the finished products or the cost in the production of a finished product. while a petroleum cost, those which are incurred not necessarily because of the production or the number of production or the number of units sold, but rather incurred based on the regular activities or other than the production. Other than the production, these are the expenses incurred by a company. Okay. Classification by planning and control are the budgeted cost and the standard cost. We have a separate discussion on that also. Traceability, national, direct cost, indirect cost. Controllability, controllable ba siya or uncontrollable? Ibig sabihin ng controllable, if, for example, if you are going to cost for 10% cost, do you have the control to change the amount of the cost or to control the amount of the cost or the incurrence of that cost? If there is, then that's controllable. If none, then it's uncontrollable. Normality, may normal cost, meron tayong abnormal cost. So we will discuss that further in our production losses. Clarify ko lang din, sino ba yung, I'm not sure kung may nag-mention kanina. Ang cost accounting ba is applicable lang sa manufacturing? Sa topic
No.
mo ba yan, Zul?
Yes, ma'am. Pati kay Panja, ma'am. Kanina naman siya.
Kay paano siya po?
It's cost accounting applicable only to manufacturing.
No, ma'am.
So, yes, okay, correct. That may also be applied to service concerns. Pwede din siya sa merchandising. But then most of the time, even in our lessons, most of the time, we will deal with manufacturing kasi mas maraming, mas maraming costs sa manufacturing. And then the cost involved in a manufacturing can also be classified into different groups or classifications. Okay? Sige. So next, last na, reporter. Sinong last natin? Si Milen? Milen, tama? Hi Milen, where are you?
Hello po. Okay po ang audio ko, ma'am.
Okay naman, may inaalam.
Okay po.
Wala. Hello?
Hello, ma'am.
Mahina lang.
Okay, sige, go.
Hindi pa po wala pa pong PPT sa screen ko po.
Meron na dito.
Sige po. Continue ko na lang po, ma'am. So, good morning, everyone.
Sa iba, meron na ba?
Meron,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. My topic is cost components of a finished goods and flow of a cost in manufacturing operations. So, unlike some merchandising companies where they just purchase materials that are ready to resell, so manufacturing companies, they make their own products to sell. So, next slide, Jules. So, sa manufacturing companies, there are three cost concepts that are necessary to produce a finished goods. These are direct materials, direct labor, and factory overhead. Direct materials cost, these are the costs incurred by the company for buying primary materials used in production. Ang direct labor naman, these are the wages or fringe benefits of the persons directly involved in the product. Ang factory overhead, these are the other costs incurred by the companies that are not direct. So, ito yung mga indirect materials, indirect labor, utilities, depreciation, maintenance, taxes, insurance. So, ang cost na ito is classified into two, prime cost and conversion cost. So, ang prime cost, these are the costs incurred to create the product. So, ang formula nito, direct materials plus direct labor. Ang conversion cost naman, these are the costs to turn the raw materials to finished goods. So, direct labor plus factory overhead equals to conversion cost. Next slide, please. So, flow of cost in a manufacturing operations. So, flow of cost refers to the manner or path in which costs move through a firm. So, ang flow of cost is more relevant in manufacturing companies. So, sa manufacturing companies, the flow of cost starts when the company buys raw materials, and the cost first flow into the material inventory. Tapos, eventually, yung mga materials na yun is mag-undergo ng production process. And yung mga companies, mag-incur sila ng labor cost, direct labor cost, and factory overhead cost. So, pag i-add natin yung tatlong cost yun, the cost will now be transferred to work in process inventory. And kapag lahat ng products, it will now make up the manufacturing cost. So, manufacturing cost. And kapag yung mga products is na-complete na manufacture, and if yung products is makumpleto na ma-manufacture, the cost will now be transferred to the finished goods. And kapag nabenta na yung mga finished goods, yung cost is ma-transfer na sa So, to better understand, ito yung mas detailed na diagram. So, lahat ng unused materials is magiging ending inventory ng material inventory. Lahat ng unfinished products is magiging ending balance ng work in process inventory. Lahat ng unsold products is magiging ending inventory ng finished goods. And take note, itong inventories na ito is balance sheet. So, makikita natin siya sa balance sheet. Pero, once na mabenta na yung mga goods, yung is the transfer na sa consumer, which is directly income statement.
By the way, our discussion is data.
Okay, thank you. Any question? Jul, meron ako i-share.
Yes, ma'am.
Or hindi not necessarily offline, but offline activities na hindi ka kaya
Tanyo.
Wala pa, ma'am.
Discuss natin balik.
Wala po.
This is marami na karoon ng merong mga hindi na submit.
Tulad kanina, ma'am.
Wala pa po. Okay, ulitin ko. Kailangan naniniwala siya sa second time around is better.
Yes, ma'am.
However, parang karoon this course, mga activity natin today, meron na post.
Meron wala.
Wala pa rin po, ma'am.
Wala pa din, ma'am.
Wala pa po.
Ayan na, ma'am.
Ayan na. Ayan na. Ayan na. Ayan.
Baka na traffic. Okay, kita niyo.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you see? Anong makikita
Product
niyo?
cost.
Ito lang, ma'am.
Product cost,
Okay,
period cost.
related din siya. May similarity din siya doon sa na-present ni Milen. This is a combination of the flow of cost and classification. As mentioned kanina, we have product cost and period cost. When we say product cost, so these are the costs incurred in the production of a finished product. And by the way, a product cost may also be in service concern. Okay, the cost of the service is also a product cost. Okay, so sabi kanina, a product cost or the cost elements of a finished product includes direct materials, direct labor, and factory overhead. So put them all together, the three materials, mapupunta siya sa raw materials inventory. Sabi ni Helen, pag hindi nagamit lahat, the unused portion will form part of the ending inventory of the raw materials. And then yung nagamit, yung gagamitin yung nagamit combined with the direct labor and the overhead are put together in the work in process. If the work process are they are transferred to the finished goods. If not completed, anong mangyayari doon sa part hindi natapos?
Currently, may 21 students.
Milen,
Maging
anong mangyayari sa
maging ending inventory po ng
magiging enter?
inventory ng work in process, ma'am.
Okay, correct. So yung natapos will be transferred to finished goods, and then of course the finished goods are the units which are sold. If they are sold, the cost of the finished goods will form part of the income statement as cost of goods sold. How about those units which are not yet sold?
Because there is a pre-existing agreement. Alagaan yung bahay nila once na nagkaroon ng pagyo. Pag may pinag-usapan,
What will happen? Helen. What will happen to the portion of the finished goods which are not yet sold?
Maging ending inventory po ng finished goods, ma'am.
Okay, correct. Magiging inventory of finished goods. Other than we also have so these are the expenses not directly related to the manufacturing or to the production of finished goods are the operating expenses. So we further group them into selling expenses and the general and administrative expenses. If incurred, they are presented in the income statement as operating expenses. Okay? In the presentation of the income statement, for historical purposes, according to the financial accounting, we have two types of presentation of income statement. According to the nature of the expense and according to the functions of expense. Okay? So, ano ang itsura ng income statement prepared according to the nature of expense? Ano ang itsura ng income statement where items are presented according to the nature of expense?
Second, in fact, the manager has been authorized by the
Nurul Haya, Miss Nurul Haya Usman.
Once nagkaroon ng pagyo, once nagkaroon ng sunog, so that's no longer negotiable gesture. Kasi, the authority has been given.
Ma'am, hindi ko po marinig, ma'am. Maingay pa sa ulit ko.
Sir CJ.
Ano nga yung tanong ko?
Sir CJ po marinig.
Shopee.
Oo, kasi dito kami dalawa sa office.
Nag-traffic ka rin.
Sige, so ano sabi ano ang itsura ng income statement prepared according to the nature of expense? Mabasa niyo ang chat, sige, i-chat ko na lang. Marinig niyo na ako?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Sana si Nurul Haya. Nurul Haya, ikaw sasagot. Paano yung ano ibig sabihin ng nature of expense na presentation? Or anyone? Andito si Mitch. Wow.
Yes.
Mitch, nasaan ka, Mitch? Wala si Mitch.
Nag-lunch siya, ma'am.
Anybody? Saan si Norjana?
Like that. So sources of obligation, another one is debit. So sa debit, is it prime, the obligation.
Oh, so hindi pala kayo nakikinig dito. Doon kay sa law nakikinig. May Sir CJ kayo nakikinig.
Income statement, ma'am.
Anong, what do you mean by, paano i-prepare ang income statement or items are presented according to the nature of expense, method, or approach? Dalawa yun eh, nature of expense approach or the function of expense.
Function.
Nature.
Wala. Hindi nyo pa yan. Yes, fine. Hello?
Yung, sure. Pero yung ma'am, yung lagay talaga kung yung mga expense na yun. Yung parang naka-disclose talaga according sa nature. Halimbawa, depreciation, transport cost, rent expense. Yung mga expense, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Ang sa function naman, ma'am, kay nakaisahang expenses lang siya, ma'am. Then, revenue expenses na lahat
May
na
notes.
expenses under ng...
Okay, baliktad.
Baliktad pala.
Baliktad.
Ang nature
The
yung
nature of
isahan pala
expense
dun.
method is
Yung function naka-group.
the nature is lahat ng income, isang grupo lang, lahat ng expenses, lahat ng cost expenses, isang grupo lang.
Yung
The function is they are classified
function
according
naka-group.
to their function. Diba? Yung sales, net sales, sa other income, separate yung cost of goods sold because cost of goods sold is an expense, right? By nature, by function, a cost of production becomes an expense once the units are sold, right? So hiwalay ang cost of production, cost of sales sa cost of the operating expenses and other expenses. Kung meron pang ibang expenses, hiwalay yun. So yun yung function of expense. Okay. Last na ba yun si ano?
Yes, ma'am.
Tapos na si Milen. Are you done? Meron ako yung percent, Jules.
Yes, ma'am.
Ay, na-present ko na ba? Teka. Oh, this one. Okay. So the product costs are presented separately. Ito yung function nila. The product cost is the production of the cost, the production of a product. While a period cost are the operating expenses becomes operating expenses. Another difference between that is product cost is yet sold, not yet completed, not yet content, will form part of the inventories, right? Raw materials, unused raw materials will form part of the raw material inventory, which is an asset. Pero yung nagamit na portion will form part of the cost of goods manufactured. Pag nabenta, magiging sold, yung cost of goods sold, so magiging expenses sa income statement. By nature, expenses ito sila because the revenues, right? No.
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Shopee.
the cost
Si
of
ma'am.
the process, the cost. Ay, paano gagawin?
Wait lang, ma'am. Shopee po.
Malakas na signal ko kayo. Sino may na signal? Ako kayo.
Yes, ma'am. Bro, na-try na. Okay na.
So,
Okay na po.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sige, when the work in process or the cost of the goods in process is completed or transferred to the finished goods not yet completed at the end of the period, form part of the ending inventory of the work in process. So presented in the balance sheet of the finished goods, 100% complete. So the cost of the units sold, because there is a difference between the cost of the completed units and the selling price. Magkaiba yun. So the cost of the completed units are the cost of goods sold. If units are not yet sold at the end of the period, they will form part of the goods. Okay? While other expenses not directly or not related to the production. So these are expenses which are incurred regardless of the production activities. Okay? Selling and general administrative expenses are operating expenses. May na-produce ka man or wala, may nabenta ka man o wala, we have operating expenses. Okay. So yun lang. Questions or clarifications?
Ano kung mag-form nung additional sa selling price niya, ma'am?
Ano daw?
Ay, ano yung madagdag doon sa cost of goods manufactured, ma'am? Kasi di ba sabi mo, ma'am, kay different yung cost ng goods na manufactured sa selling price. Ay, yes, ma'am. Yung selling cost.
Magkaiba sila, right? Diba? When you produce cost of manufacturer, the cost of goods is, for example, nung ginawa mo siya, your total expenses, cost incurred is 100. That's the cost of the goods manufactured.
Yes, ma'am.
Nung binenta mo yung product, ibibenta mo ba siya at 100?
No. Markup.
100 din ba? No. So magkaiba sila. Okay? So magkakaroon ka ng markup. Pero pwede ko ba siya ibenta na walang markup? Pwede ko ba siya ibenta na walang markup? Pwede naman. Pero huwag ka umasa, yayaman ka doon. Wala kang income doon.
Yes, ma'am.
Diba? Your gross profit, your gross margin is your markup. Yun yung patong mo.
Yes, ma'am.
Diba? So, pag wala kang markup, pwede mo naman siya ibenta ng walang markup. Pwede mo rin nga siya ibenta below the cost eh. Pero walang profit dun. So, paano ka mag-earn ng income? So, pag wala kang income, pag wala kang profit, paano mo ma-sustain yung operations?
Yes, ma'am.
Kung ganun lang din ang goal mo sa buhay, magsarado ka na lang.
Yes, ma'am.
Ikaw, sa bagay, unless gusto mo ang lahat ng pagkalugi sa mundo. Bahala ka, okay lang yun. But invest in, that's why we engage in the business because primarily our goal is to earn a profit. Diba? Though there are organizations which are not for profit, non-profit organizations, meron. But honestly, hindi naman sila zero profit. Okay? But their main objective, non-profit organizations are created, not primary. It's not their primary objective to earn a profit. Okay? Can you cite an example of a not-for-profit organization?
NDU.
Sure ka? Paglaban mo eh. Sige, sige. Wala pa ako sinabi. Tinatanong ko lang kung sure ka.
Ay, uy, ano nakalagay
Paano mo,
sa
paano mo
vision
nasabi?
Wow, vision.
Hindi naman kita kalabanin doon.
Ay, di ma'am.
National institutions, charitable institutions are not for profit. Diba? Kung may kukontra dyan, sige na, kontrahin nyo na. Bago natin i-play. Okay. Their objective, Adam, may kontra tayo doon. Okay, sige, klaro ko lang.
Ah,
Hindi naman sinabi doon that NDU is an operate educational institution to earn profit for the oblates. Wala namang ganon, di ba?
yeah.
Okay. So, the primary objective why an organization was created is to provide educational services.
Yes, ma'am.
Di ba? Pero ba may nagkukulekta sila ng tuition, meron silang profit. The earning of the revenue of the profit at the end of the period is incidental to the operations. And it is necessary for the organization to continue the operations.
Yes, ma'am.
Diba? For example, if NDU is not collecting a tuition fee, paano sa palagay ninyo? Sweldo kayo? Yan.
Yes, ma'am. Wala.
Right? It's incidental. It's necessary for the operations. But again, the main objective is not to earn a profit. Or any institution na nalaman ninyo na NGO yun. NGO, not for non-government, not for profit. Non-government. Charitable institutions na ganyan. Hindi na sila as in zero talaga na walang hindi naman ganun kalaki ang objective talaga doon provide service okay, sa kanilang mga clients, mga customers and constituents. Okay. Questions or clarifications? Wala na? Okay, sige. Next meeting on Wednesday. We will not meet pala online on Wednesday, but we will have a quiz. I will post instructions sa stream. Every now and then, please check the stream. Rufaida, paki-off ng mic. June, paki-off muna ng mic. Okay, sige. Ano na nga yung sinabi ko? On Wednesday, I will post mga instructions. Sa Wednesday, ang quiz natin. Okay lang? 9:30. Okay lang. But, depende kung ano ha. Baka feeling ko I will meet you for saglit lang for the clarifications of instructions. But the quiz is online. I will give you the link on Wednesday pa. Okay? Klaro ba yun? By
Yes,
the way,
ma'am.
ngayon lang tayo mag-meet na parang every TTH tayo nag-meet. Pero someday, may mga times din na hindi tayo mag-meet on cam. Pwede mag-meet tayo pero hindi on cam. Baka nandiyan lang din ako to guide you for the activity. Baka may ipapagawa ko na support. So, andyan lang din ako online. Not necessary na may camera. Sige lang, tingnan lang natin balang araw kung ano yung magiging procedure natin or activities natin. Okay? Again, please be guided by the FARS outline. Again, na-explain ko na yung sa book na wala akong specific book na i-require. Bahala kayo anong book ang gamitin ninyo, anong resources, okay lang. Basta pag ang pinag-usapan natin job order costing, naintindihan niyo ano ibig sabihin ng job order costing. Okay? Sige. So kung wala ng mga questions or clarifications, by the way, do I have to attach or to post sa stream yung present ko kanina na dalawang
Yes, ma'am.
chart?
Yes, ma'am.
Pwede naman. Basta para sa iyo. Basta para sa inyo, pwede naman. Okay lang, sige. After nito, i-post ko yan. Okay, sige, thank you for joining. Mauna daw kayo mag-leave bago ako lumabas sa classroom. Yes.